Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another deck list. And today, just as promised, Yugi's deck from Dark Side of Dimensions. I do want to make a quick preface that this deck isn't always going to be exactly like Yugi used in the movie, because there won't be some of his iconic cards, but that's for the sake of consistency here, which matters quite a lot when having a deck. So, with that out of the way, let's get into it. So first off, one copy of the Dark Magician. And I've got to say, this is my favorite card artwork for the Dark Magician. Really nice. I do like the classic one second best, but this one is just so menacing. I love it. Next, we have two copies of Palladium Oracle Mahad. The reason I added two was so if you draw into your first one, you're not out of the special summon for the second one. And if you have both of them in the deck, that's even better, because then you have the chance to draw into both of them during your draw phase, allowing you to special summon them, which is really great. Next, one of my favorite monsters in the entire game, if you guys couldn't tell, Marsh Macaron. This is way better than Marshmallow, in my opinion, because, number one, I just think it looks way better. Doesn't have that creepy smile. And it's basically two free pieces of tribute fodder. If your opponent attacks into your face down, special summon two more. And what's even better is that if you have these two in the graveyard because you tributed them, and then you Monster Reborn this one, and your opponent attacks it, two more. Which, it's just really great at cycling out your Marsh Macarons, and may even be an infinite source of tribute material depending on how in check you decide to keep your opponent. Next, Gandora Cross, the Dragon of Demolition. I love this card so much. I thought the previous Gandora card, Gandora the Dragon of Demolition, just didn't live up to the hype as much as I hoped it would. So this one's actually not even on Master Duel. It's so powerful. I love this card. I've won quite a few duels with this. Next, Palladium Oracle Mana. Only one copy. This card can easily be summoned with a later card on this list, so that's why there's only one copy. You only need one copy because this is a Dark Magician Girl deck, so you only really need one, but if you want to add more, by all means, go ahead. It's your deck, your choice. I just got this for the deck recently. Lord Gaia the Fierce Knight basically works like a Cyber Dragon. Except it doesn't rely on your opponent needing a monster on the field. You just need to have none. And then you can special summon this guy. And if a monster with higher attack is special summoned to your opponent's field, this card can gain 700 attack until the end of the turn, which bumps it up to 3,000. So really, they're going to need a pretty good card like Starving Venom Fusion Dragon to get over this if they're special summoning. Next, we have two copies of Dark Magician Girl. You only really need two copies since the other Magician Girls are mostly there for your combo potential and for your opponent to attack into. So this card is just a beat stick for this deck, which is really good. And I love this artwork more than all the other ones because you get to see all of Dark Magician instead of like just her face, which I think is really cool. Next is Kiwi Magician Girl. Only one copy, but you can add more if you want more hand traps in the deck. So this card is almost never used as a summon. It's mostly used to discard. And then all Magician Girl monsters you control gain 300 attack and defense for every Magician Girl with different names on the field or in the graveyard until the end of the turn. I do love this card's artwork. I like it more than the original because, believe it or not, all of the Magician Girl cards were censored in America. But I do like this one better than the original, just because this one looks more menacing, in my opinion. Next, I wish I had 3 copies, but I only have 2 of Chocolate Magician Girl. This card is good for finding your Magician Girls or for spell and traps, because you can discard a spellcaster, draw a new card, and then it has the basic Magician Girl effect, except that this one summons a Magician Girl from the graveyard instead, so I'll let you guys get a good look at that effect, so that way you can see what I mean. The other one's special summon from the hand. This one special summons from the graveyard specifically, so it's good if you have your graveyard stacked with the Magician Girls. Next, we'll have 2 copies of Apple Magician Girl. They're different rarities, I know. It bugs me. But it special summons from the hand if it's attacked, halves the opponent's attack pretty good. And you can... If this card's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target up to 3 Magician Girl monsters with different names in your graveyard, add them to your hand. So this basically stacks up your hand if your graveyard is, again, really full of the Magician Girl cards, which is quite common for this deck because you'll be cycling through them like there's no tomorrow. Next, 1 copy of Lemon Magician Girl. I don't remember why I put 1 copy in the deck, but I do wish I had 2 copies in the deck. But the deck really does run consistently with only 1 lemon, so it's not a huge deal, especially when you can search with the 3 copies of Berry Magician Girl we have next. But this card is the most generic of the Magician Girls because it doesn't have a secondary effect. Oh, never mind, it does. You contribute a Magician Girl monster you control except Lemon Magician Girl, add a spellcaster from your deck to your hand. So that's really good because it doesn't only specify Magician Girl. You can get any spellcaster, and if I were to recommend one that you should have in a deck like this, it would be Silent Magician. Not Silent Magician level 8, just plain old Silent Magician. Then you can do all sorts with that. 3 copies of Berry Magician Girl. Berry Magician Girl is really, really useful for this deck because if you summon it, you can add a Magician Girl monster from your deck to your hand. If it's attacked, you can swap it to defense mode and then special summon a Magician Girl monster from your deck. So that could even be Dark Magician Girl, and you can have a 2k beat stick without taking any damage for that turn, which is pretty good. Next, we have Sentry Soldier of Stone. There are no rock monsters in this deck, so it's really not as good as the potential could be, but I do like that it's better than Giant Soldier of Stone in terms of artwork, and that it's not a normal monster, but it does have the 2k defense, which is really nice. Next, we have Celtic Guard of Noble Arms and Celtic Guardian. Both of them go together really well. This is the second normal monster in the deck list, but try to limit as many normal monsters as you have in here, just for the sake of consistency. Celtic Guard of Noble Arms allows you to special summon Celtic Guardian from your hand, and if this card inflicts damage, you draw equal to the number of Celtic Guard monsters you control, and this counts as a Celtic Guard monster. So you could end up drawing 2 cards for that turn, and the only problem is this card cannot attack unless you have no cards in your hand, but with this deck, running out of cards in your hand does happen often, and not in a bad way. Sure, it's bad to have no cards in your hand, but it's even better to have cards on the field, so this deck is good at getting monsters on the field. So if you have no cards in your hand, and you got these 2 guys in your hand, then get ready to draw 2, because you just might be able to. Sage's Stone. This is the only way I summon Dark Magician in this deck, is through Sage's Stone. Because what I do is I get Dark Magician Girl on the field really quick, Sage's Stone, Dark Magician from the deck. And the only reason I have 2 is so I can draw into it easier. Otherwise, it's just a dead card in your hand. But, you know, it's up to you, to each their own. I have 1 for each copy of Dark Magician Girl I have. Even if I had a 3rd copy, I would still only use 2. even if I had another Dark Magician in my deck, I would still only use 2. Next, we have Magical Dimension, which I didn't know they made in the Premium Gold rarity. Really, really nice. If you control a spellcaster, target a monster you control, tribute it, then special summon a spellcaster from your hand, and then destroy 1 monster on the field. This is also good for summoning Dark Magician, but you know, sometimes I'll do it for Palladium Oracle Mahad, since he has double attack points when battling a dark monster, so it's infinitely more useful than Dark Magician in this deck, unless it's comboed with our next card on the list, which is Dark Magic Expanded. So you gain effects based on the number of Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl on the field and in the graveyards, and it's specifically Dark Magician Girl, so none of the other Magician Girls. Target a dark spellcaster monster on the field, it gains 1,000 attack till the end of the turn. This is how you beat over the really big boss monsters in your opponent's deck, is you'll use this card and then get Dark Magician Girl to 3,000 or Dark Magician to 3,500, and then you can beat over basically any monster in the game so long as it doesn't have the all-powerful 4,000 attack moniker. But other than that, if you have 2+ in your graveyard, your opponent cannot activate spell or trap cards for the rest of the turn, and your spell and trap cards cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. And dark spellcaster monsters you control are unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of the turn if you have 3+. And you have 3 of them in the deck, so all in all, it's not that difficult to get that to happen, because you can get Dark Magician Girl out really easily, and if you use Sage's Stone, Dark Magician will be out really easily too, meaning you'll get at least the 2+ on a regular game state. Next, 1 copy of Magical Contract Door. You add a spell to your opponent's hand, and then add a level 7 or 8 Dark Monster from your deck to your hand. This is usually used for Gandora Cross in this deck, because normally you really don't need to do it with the Dark Magician, but say you have this in your hand, and then another spell, you can use this card, give a spell to your opponent, get the Dark Magician, summon, and then use this. But I typically use it for the Gandora Cross, especially with how powerful it is in comparison to the other cards in this deck. Next, the limited edition Monster Reborn. I believe I got this in a pack a long time ago, and I never let it out of a card sleeve, really. You know, everyone knows what Monster Reborn does. Only 1 copy. Really nice. Sparkles like the rest of the cards. Black Illusion. This card, until the end of the turn, allows all Dark Spellcaster monsters with 2,000 or more attack to not be able to be destroyed by battle or card effects, and it's unaffected by those card effects, but their effects are negated, which isn't a huge deal, because, you know, it doesn't really matter. It's just a safe bet. You know, it's there for your convenience when there's a bump in the road, essentially. Next, we have Metamorph Fortress. So this card can target a level 4 or higher monster you control, special summon this as an effect monster, then equip that face-up monster to this card. So this card would gain the attack and defense equal to the attack and defense of the equipped card, and it's switched to defense mode after it attacks. When this card is summoned, it gets 1,000 attack, 1,000 defense. So if you equipped a Dark Magician Girl to this card, that's a 3,000 attack monster. And then once you attack, it switches to defense mode, which would still be very powerful, because it would have over 2,000 defense. So that's really, really good. So no matter the options, this card will always make them stronger. Unless it's Gandora Cross. Mirror Force, 2 copies. Everyone loves Mirror Force. I didn't want to be too sleazy, so I only added 2. 3 of them would just feel gross. Next, Dimension Reflector. The only Dimension card I have in this deck, because the other ones clogged it up a little bit too much, but I am considering buying a Dimension Guardian and swapping out a Dimension Reflector. But this card, along with Gandora Cross, can inflict incredible burn damage while getting a powerful monster on top of it. So you tribute 2 monsters you control, target a monster your opponent controls with attack, and then this card gains attack and defense equal to that card, and you inflict damage equal to this card's attack. So, yeah, this is really good. A way to get a super powerful monster, gain a ton of advantage, burn your opponent, and be able to beat over just about anything they have, especially when comboed with a Mirror Force. I remember when I was playing with my dad once, he had a 3,500 attack point Dododo Swordsman on the field. I used Dimension Reflector to gain those attack points. Then he tried to attack another monster I had. I Mirror Forced that Dododo Swordsman. So this card is really good for gaining huge advantage. Magician Circle. This is how we will summon a lot of our Dark Magician support cards, like Dark Magician Girl, Palladium, Oracle Mana. So when a spellcaster monster declares an attack, each player special summons a spellcaster with 2,000 or less attack from their deck in attack position. My dad never uses spellcaster monsters, which makes this card all benefit for me. 1 copy of Magic Cylinder. Everyone knows what Magic Cylinder does. It's a classic. Another way to inflict serious burn on your opponent. And then Spiritual Swords of Revealing Light. So once per turn, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, you can pay 1,000 life points to negate the attack, and then during your opponent's turn, banish this card from your graveyard. Then this turn, your opponent's monster cannot attack directly. So it's even better than the OG Swords of Revealing Light, in my opinion, unless your opponent uses Jinzo, which unfortunately my dad does. So once in a while, I'm unable to use this card, but by the time he has Jinzo on the field, it's practically over. But that's my Yugi Dark Side of Dimensions deck. If you liked the video, please be sure to like. And if you want to see more, be sure to subscribe. I will be putting out a questionnaire sort of thing on YouTube. So I'll be putting out 3 named decks, and you guys will be able to choose which ones you want to see next. But other than that, that's my video. Have a good night.